Hey there, it
Uh,
looks like we're live.
Hey, we're live. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Happy Monday. We are back with Judy Bradt in the building. Been a couple weeks, but we have brought her back on. I see some people are already following instructions from the previous sessions, introducing themselves, telling us where they're from, telling us their name, telling us the name of their organization. Good job, Brian. Good job, Lilani. You could tell the ones that are regulars that know what to do. So,
Your regulars are awesome. Your community is so active, and I have to say thank you right off the top for all the great folks that I've met and had the chance to have conversations with because we have these conversations here. So thank you again
no,
for
no, no.
inviting me.
No, thank you for coming on. And I see some people, some familiar faces on here. I see a couple new people. So again, if you're new, welcome, welcome, welcome. We like to use this as our session where we introduce each other, we talk a little bit about our businesses, we tell people what we do, because by the time this finish, there will be hundreds of people who've seen this content. And by next month, thousands of people have seen the content. So let them know who you are, what is it that you do, what your business does, and where you're from. Those are the three things that we ask. Brian's already done it. Lalani's already done it. Let's see, Dale. Let's go, Giant Hawaiian. Put something in the chat. Ferdinand, put something in the chat. Mr. Agent 81, let us know who you are. What is it that you do? It also helps when we are talking and we're giving illustrations, we're giving examples, then we can talk towards examples that where we can relate to. But if you don't tell us anything about your business, you don't tell us what stage you're in, what you're working on, it's really difficult for us to give practical examples that you can relate to. So we're just going to ramble off stuff that makes sense to us, but it may
Sure.
not be applicable to your situation. So
Mark,
definitely
Lloyd, welcome. Thanks for telling us a little bit about what you're doing. I hope things are going well at the VA, Mark. That's great.
nice, nice.
And what does Polanco Management do? And when we're here, one of the things that we both love to do is hear about your situation and what kind of business you might most like to win and with what agency. So, hey, can we start out? Um, I wonder if you have a federal agency where you would most like to win your next contract or your first contract. If there's a federal agency where you've never done business and you would like to win for the first time, put that in the chat along with what you offer. So I'd like to offer floor polishing machines to Veterans Affairs, or I'd
Okay.
like to offer um, scientific equipment prototypes to Health and Human Services. So put your first contract you'd really like to win for what and with who. Put that in the chat because that's going to give us something to play with on our topic tonight. Don't you think, Eric?
Yes, I love it. I started it off just in case you slow pokes were messing around. You see my answer, Judy?
I did.
Okay. Is that good or should I do
I
something
love that.
different?
That's
Okay.
exactly the right thing. It's exactly what
Okay.
I want to see. Yep. And so, Cy, the DIY guy, what do you have to offer to the Department of the Interior?
Right.
Modular units. Good, Eric. That's great.
Thank you. I pay
Yep.
attention, Judy.
And I like your example because everybody who does anything that might be of value, of importance in the case of disaster response, listen up because the forecasters are all saying that there's going to be a record hurricane season, a record season for extreme weather. And the time to get in line, the time to make friends is right now,
It is.
long before the
Go ahead, son.
forecaster puts it there and says it's time to evacuate. This is the time of year when you need to be making friends with the whole set of people in the community that's going to be involved in responding, that already has their continuity of operation books and they're dusting them off. So I love your example. Gee, I have temporary housing to offer FEMA in modular units.
Right.
Great
Yep.
example.
Yep.
Julie says, I want a micro purchase with the VA offering medical supplies. Got it. Uh-huh. Great. So give us some context before I dive right into the deep end, Eric. I wandered off and did a double half gainer off the low board without even warming up.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Hold on. So what kind of context would you like?
Well, we were going to talk about micro purchase, and
Right.
this is the fifth in a set of 6 topics now that we've been talking about and building relationships with people, solving some
Uh-huh.
problems.
Right. No, and in regard to micro purchases, I
Yeah.
have personally, I cannot recall successfully winning a micro purchase.
Okay. Now that
Um,
explains something important to me because I know you've often said, small businesses don't let anybody talk you into these little bit twiddling things
yeah,
as if you aren't,
exactly. Yeah, I
go for real things, micro purchase. A micro purchase kind of isn't your favorite topic,
it's
is it?
not for me, Judy.
But you started in construction, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that can be a different situation. And so
Right.
my very first contract
Uh-huh.
was a micro purchase, my first federal contract. And I have to tell you, the federal government is not usually my client. I have pursued some federal business in
Okay.
part so that I can have the same kind of experiences that my clients have. I can live to tell the tale. The
Okay.
very first thing I ever sold was to the Small Business Administration.
Okay.
It was a micro purchase done, I
Okay.
think, on a credit card
Okay.
in the last 4 weeks of the fiscal year.
Okay.
The Small Business Administration bought a box of my books before there was a box and before there was a book. It was based on a relationship that took with somebody, it took 18 months for me to get to know that person. Now, that's an
Okay.
unusual length of lead time, but it was a relationship sale
Uh-huh.
at the end of the fiscal year for less than $10,000 paid on a credit card. And I got not only my money in the bank account, but I could say, I've done business with the Small Business Administration, and that
Sure.
opens the door
Mm-hmm.
because nobody wants to be first, right?
Sure.
And so, for a lot of people, micro purchase is valuable. And sometimes with construction, let's say you are involved in a specialty thing, maybe you fix railings, maybe you do interior painting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time, even with construction, somebody has a little job. They can't get anybody to do it.
Oh,
Somebody
yes.
can't be bothered doing that project. So
Right.
that stairwell is always in disrepair. That wall always needed painting. That switch box is always sending off sparks and setting off the alarm at a weird time, and
Right.
nobody
Right.
knows how to fix it.
Right.
Sometimes to say, give me that little job that nobody wants. I'll take care of you. Those words, I'll take care of you, are the most powerful words anybody can tell me. I will take care of you. I will stop it from hurting. I will keep you safe. I will make you shine. I will fix the thing that's been irritating people and being distracting and that has been making you look bad forever. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
take care of that for you. What a lovely gift to give to someone to say, I'll take care of you.
No, I will say I've done simplified acquisition, but I've never
Uh-huh.
done micro purchase.
And for you, simplified acquisition, again, in construction, maybe a project that's big enough, a couple hundred thousand
Right.
dollars,
Right.
nice little job. Lots of, and for construction, that
We've
could
done,
be
listen, we've done 15, 25,000 things like that as well
uh-huh.
sometimes. So,
Okay.
but I've just never done credit card purchases. Now,
No worries. Mhm.
Maria just said on there, she wrote it, she did a painting, a room for a contract. She did a
There
micro.
you go.
So Maria's done it
Great.
before.
And so
Um,
the cool thing about that is you can say, now, I've done business with the United States Marine Corps. Ooh,
right.
really? The fact that it was for painting a wall. I did a project for the Department of Homeland Security. It was a $2,500 lunch and learn. I only
Oh,
got to
that's
do
great.
one, but hey, I got to do one.
No, that's
I've
wonderful.
done business with the Department of Homeland freaking Security. Isn't
Yeah.
that cool?
That's cool.
Um, and so business begets more business. And
Absolutely.
the people want to make it easy to give you a little bit of a try, do a project that they don't have to run a big fancy competition for, because lots of the times end users have things that they need and they might be interested in a new vendor. And as vendors, we might want to win that $250,000 project, the multi-million dollar project. But if those buyers don't know us, a micro purchase gives them a low risk way to try you out
Hmm.
and gives you an easy way, a short term project where you don't have to invest a lot of capital and you get to shine. You get to show what a great job you did. It's not going to take you forever to do that. So you're not trying to deliver a giant project first time out of the box.
Sure.
You can show you did well, do another one, and you get cash flow. So some of those things really debunk the idea that you need to be spending thousands of dollars on a big proposal when you can start to build trust
Hmm.
and they can get to know you on a smaller project. And there are thousands of companies, and I think there are thousands of companies who are your subscribers and in your programs whose businesses may be very small and may never aspire to be multi million dollar businesses in the first place. So it may be that a good series of a few micro purchases that might build into our topic for next week, simplified acquisitions, that could make all the difference in your business doing what it needs to do, bringing in the money that you need to support your family, to help somebody achieve your business goals right now. That could make all the difference. And the fact that those don't take huge proposals to write, but are based on relationships is the thing that surprises people.
All right, you heard it here first. You heard what Judy said. Micro purchases. A lot of the smaller companies out here may not be aspiring to do hundreds of thousands a year, may not be aspiring to do millions of dollars a year. Great way to get your foot in the door.
And
I personally don't have a lot of experience with micro purchases, so I'm going to be sitting back and watching on this one.
okay.
I'm
So,
letting Judy take controls. She's in the driver's seat. I'm going to be the passenger. I might be like the
ask me.
talking
You're the
passenger.
skeptical passenger, and I like that. So
No,
you
you
should
know.
ask me those questions. So let's take a look at some of these. So Isaiah Simmons said, I did 5 with the post office. Last one I did paid out $2,200. How who here would sniff at that? That's in these
No.
days, who can afford to turn down work? Sometimes you do if it's not the right thing. But what else have we got? Maria says I did another one for USDA for trimming the driveway before starting our sole source contract. And here's something to think about. Lots of times people say, well, I want to be awarded a big sole source contract. For a larger value sole source contract, there's a long list of work that the contracting officer has to do to justify and document a sole source. So the bigger it is, the more pressure the buyers are under to show competition. It's why it's to your advantage to build a relationship, because there's lots of options that a contracting officer has to conduct a full, open, fair competition and also make it easy for them to award the work to you. Both of those things can be true at the same time.
Mhm.
Some of that comes from your buyer getting used to what you do well, you being able to show them how you're special, how you're different. And that lets your buyer shape the desirable requirements and the mandatory requirements in the specification so that it doesn't have your name written on it in capital letters, but it's leaving the door open for you. It may be defining it in such a way that there are very few companies that have 2 or 3 particular characteristics that are important for the job being done in a way that will mean it gets done well and the contract will be low risk of failure and high odds of being really successful. So,
Julie, can we, um, earlier you asked folks to put in here the specific product or service they want to offer to a specific
yeah.
agency. Okay.
Hmm.
I don't see that in here. I'm looking at the group chat. I
Hmm.
see, um, so for example, Adele wrote, I want to sell standalone filtration units to the DoD and other
Hmm.
agencies. Judy, what would you
Hmm.
say to that?
So, Adele, standalone indoor biodefense air filtration units to the DoD. All right, Adele. Um, the tricky part is I want to sell to the DoD.
Mhm.
There's no such thing as selling to the DoD. Adele, when you have a contract, a real federal human is going to sign that contract. That's a person who is the one who's got everything on the line when they choose you. And so, if you want to sell standalone indoor biodefense air filtration units, Adele, start close to home. Find someone, if you have never sold to anyone in the federal government before, they're going to want to see that you've sold the product or the service that you offer to another organization or customer that has a size and scale of requirement really similar to theirs. One of the things that matters, Ardell, how many of those, Adele, how many do you want to sell? You looking to sell one or five or 500 or 5 million? Finding someone who has a specific need to have an indoor biodefense air filtration unit. Maybe they've been told they need to have one. Maybe if it's COVID response, that's actually a helpful thing to know. There may be some folks who are getting ready to bring a workforce back into the office. And so you have a specific problem that that buyer needs to solve and go in and talk to them about how you've solved that problem for someone very similar to them yesterday afternoon. And so come bringing a case study of how you solved the problem and how effectively you did it. And you're going to be calling on individual federal humans. If there are people that you've already sold to who are familiar with or have relationships with the folks that you want to be doing business with, leveraging the relationships you have to get an introduction to somebody who needs what you do is helpful. With what you're doing, um, sometimes if you're dealing with something that has to do with facilities management, you might be dealing with the prime contractor that has the facilities management contract. You might be dealing with the HVAC contractor. It's possible that in your situation, um, somebody might have a really specific need for an individual office. So you've got to get really tightly focused rather than, I want to go and put my biodefense units up on the internet and people buy a truckload of them. Maybe that will happen in time. Got to have a good idea about what they're already buying that is similar to what you offer. That gets
Mhm.
kind of interesting. And that's a way and a reason to tap federal market research data, one of my favorite topics, and find out if somebody didn't have what you offer, then what else are they buying and who are they buying it from? And that will, again, look at who's buying a lot of these things. If they're buying a lot of them, they already know that they're a type of thing that works, and they might be interested in one that has better features, better customer service, better training, better support, possibly better price. And so you're not trying to educate people from zero on why they need air filtration, air biodefense systems. You're already talking to people who know the language and who appreciate the value of the problem you solve. Ardell, does that help? That's a long explanation. So give us
I
some feedback, and Eric, feed us another one.
All right. So again, I'm looking here at what people wrote, and What we're asking, again, be very specific about what is it that you want to sell and to what agency. Um,
Adele says it's anthrax and COVID. Starting close to home. Yeah. You have an appointment with DHA in 2 weeks. All right. Defense Health Administration. Excellent. So, Adele, you definitely want to um, think about who you already know who might know somebody in DHA. Again, DHA is not your buyer. You're going to have a specific military hospital. So you want to find out what equipment they're already using. If you're not already working with um, training that Eric has provided, or with your procurement technical assistance center, or our good buddies at Govology, and learning how to tap past federal contract data, you want to go into your meeting at DHA knowing what equipment they're already buying and how you bring better value. So that's something to think about. Another thing to think about, especially with micro purchases, what would be the value of, say, a pilot installation or a sample or a test? So, anybody here who would like to win uh, a micro purchase, that's actually not the thing that you want to go in approaching the buyer with. Remember that you need to be able to solve a problem somebody has for less than $10,000. So I want everybody here to think about that contract, this specific individual contract for less than what problem could you solve or what could you deliver for less than $10,000? I want to see that in the chat. Now,
so
ideas might be a report, an assessment, a study. Brian, a lunch and learn, a class, a training, an evaluation.
Brian offers assessments.
Yeah, I know.
Brian
He was
offers
saying he had done
assessment.
100, wished he could get a gig for lunch and learn. So yeah, so you could be a training assessment. It could be a training design workshop. So that way people are giving you ideas for new things that you can offer them. How bad would that be? Um, you can present leading edge, a showcase of the leading edge solutions in your realm. You could be presenting um, ideas for how to solve a particular problem. Uh, so, Jesse, you got paper towels. That is often going to be a price and service and delivery thing. So it might be that Amazon is not your friend. So to be able to offer, and sometimes you're not in a place where you can offer something that somebody's got. Your paper towels have got to be better, faster, cheaper. Saying, "Oh, it's environmentally friendly," is, especially if it's going to cost more, hard to justify, even though there's executive orders that go back to two administrations saying, oh, there's a mandate to buy environmentally friendly stuff. Did we get it on time? Can we afford it? Uh, so CMMC assessments. So CMMC assessments are something a vendor would need. I don't
Right.
know whether the government itself is, that's not something you
Yeah.
can probably sell to the federal government itself.
Right.
Okay, a micro creative campaign, mini online training, mini marketing website under 10,000, Colin. That's brilliant. I
Right.
love that. Great idea.
Um,
Let's
Judy,
see.
can you
Who else
help
has got
Philip
some?
out? He keeps saying he can deliver all things food. Can we clarify?
All things food related. Yeah, Philip, that's really interesting. Does that mean food service tools? Does that mean catering? Does it mean advice on nutrition? Get a little more specific for us. You're a government consultant based out in California. Got that, Philip. Um, Love to hear more about that. And so, no,
That's
sole so
interesting.
mm,
I've never heard of virtual CPR training before.
virtual CPR. Um,
I've never heard of that.
I would bet you could do it. There's a lot of physical things, everything from dance classes to singing that people are teaching online. So I would bet that if it may be that you have to send a physical equipment or model, that might be something you have to do.
Okay.
So
Okay.
um depends on, and there's so many really cool things being done virtually. Maybe it's possible to do it with uh
Oh,
virtual
yes.
simulated environment.
Okay. I like that thinking,
Earl,
Judy. I like that.
cloud environmental security assessments. That's a great one. I
That sounds
love
good.
that.
Yeah. That sounds good,
Excellent.
Earl. I like it.
Contracts in trucking, small company, one truck, one trailer. Nickel Samuel, make some buddies, make some friends. Um, People want to know, where are micro purchases posted? The answer is they're not. These are things that happen conversation by conversation. So if you're looking to do business at the micro purchase level, that's going to come from a personal relationship. And so you're going to be making friends. The odds are that you're probably only 2 degrees of separation, 2 conversations from somebody who probably needs what you do. But you've got to get to know them, and you have to know the concept of players and layers. And Maria, if you can drop our GovCon personas guide in the chat, that would be great. We talk about something called the players and layers methodology. There are 5 people you need to meet. And if you're offering something, offering to solve a problem, at least at first, that you can help with at a very low price tag, you might not need to know the cabinet secretary or the CIO or even the base commander. Helpful to know, if you're looking to grow to that stage, who the big cheese is in your food chain. But for sure, you do need to know the contracting officer. It's helpful to know the small business specialist. Small business specialist is not going to lead you to the micro purchase. Small business specialist, if you've done your research, can help you fill in the gaps in your research and your knowledge when you're looking to find out who should you be doing business with, who should you be talking to. So of the 5 players and layers, stakeholders probably not as important for micro purchase, but helpful if you're growing. Small business specialists can be your advocate and help you fine tune your navigation and your call planning when you're building relationships. End user, for sure. Your end user has a lot to say about, hey, I want this thing. Contracting person, could you make this happen, please? That's a short jump. So contracting and end user and small business specialist, all really, really helpful. Probably don't need to know the stakeholder. Helpful to know the industry player. Who else are they doing business with? Who are they buying from right now that either you are going to have to complement or be compatible with, or might feel uncomfortable that you're nipping at their heels? So you got to slide under there and go, oh, this other thing that, insert name of big prime, that they don't do, we can take care of you. That thing that they've left unfinished, we've got you. That happens all the time.
So, by the way, while we're reading the comments, there's about 60 people watching so far, 17 likes. Make sure you give us a thumbs up if you like the content. I'm going to go through and continue as Judy's
Yeah,
talking,
sure. And
filtering
Aunt
questions that we
Paul
have.
has something that they're asking about. Let's see here. What was that now? Um, what is micro purchase exactly? All right, Louise. Yes, let's start back at the beginning. A very good place to start. Federal buyers, a warranted federal contracting officer, someone with buying authority, may purchase goods or services worth up to the value of $10,000. They can pay you on a credit card, which is typically how it happens. They can make the purchase when they're following the rules with virtually no competition, no small business set asides. The Buy American Act does not apply. And you've got to know the rules, which is why I have a class that goes through that. And I'm not going to go and read the federal acquisition regulations to you. It's not quite the Wild West for just handing out contracts hand over fist. They're supposed to look for local suppliers. So if you're close to a federal buying installation, an agency, a base, a fort, a camp, great, because they have encouragement to award contracts to local suppliers. So that's an advantage for you. So go local is a big deal. It's very helpful. Brian, do I mention getting paid for lunch and learns in my book? I think the particular lunch and learn I got paid for, I didn't tell that story in my book. I will tell you the story of how I won it. I was just
Done better.
finishing, I was at the government procurement conference. So I guess it would have been 2, 3 years ago now. And I had finished the the presentation I was giving. I was tired. I was sitting down at a lunch table, and somebody from the Department of Homeland Security in the Small Business Office and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, I know Citizenship and Immigration Services, one of the I words. We sat down and we were chatting, and he was talking, and I was asking him about, I was testing my theories about whether or not contracting staff want to talk to vendors or they don't. And he said, that's really funny. One of the things that I have a mandate to do is to encourage the contracting staff to have better relationships with vendors. And I said, well, this was in April. I said, I could help you with that. I'd love to put together a lunch and learn on that. And this is April. Well, I said, when should I follow up? He said, oh, you should follow up in June. So I sent him an email in April. We followed up in June, and then silence, silence, more silence, nothing, nothing, nothing. Came to almost the end of the year. It was September. Hey, would you like to do the thing? Oh, we'd like to do the thing, but new fiscal year. Let's talk after September. More silence, more emails. Finally, we get to October. Finally hear back from him. He said, yeah, I think we'd like to do this thing 2 weeks before Christmas. I said, we can do this. So lots of email follow-up, lots of patience. I didn't hear from him for many, many months, but then finally said yes. And now we got to the agreement. And then the contracting officer writes to me and says, I'd like to know if we can get a discount. I'm going, discount? So I'm calling my other friend who's a contracting officer. She said, oh, they ask that because they have to ask that. I said, oh, okay, fine. I said, well, I'm not going to discount one, but if your office buys four, or maybe it's $3,500. If your office buys a set of four, then I will prorate your price back down to $3,500 each. So I got $3,500 for the one that I gave, because they never came back and asked for any more of them in that fiscal year. So they had to ask for a discount, which was interesting. And this is the best part, 48 hours after I gave the webinar and submitted my invoice, I had a payment for $3,500 from the Department of Homeland Security. I wept. It was the fastest I got paid by almost anybody. So that was my little story about doing business in a lunch and learn with the Department of Homeland Security. I hope that helps a little. If you like the story, if you think that this sounds like something you could do, if that's helpful, put a thumbs up in the chat. Let us know whether the story is helpful to you.
By the way, Sylvia says, I received my first 3 micro purchase contracts with the Federal Reserve Board of Governors doing training for their facilities managers.
Excellent.
Good job. Excellent. Good story, Sylvia.
That's impressive, Sylvia. Congratulations.
By the way, glad you're back. I know she was out for a little bit. Hey, there's only 26 likes, 68 people watching. Give us a thumbs up so we can keep sharing, keep discussing, keep bringing content, keep answering questions. And
Colin, thank you for the plug. Absolutely. So talk a little bit about what else you might like to offer. Oh, and Paul wanted to know, are these micro purchases location specific? Absolutely. You're delivering a thing to a place. You're conducting a training in a location. Yes, they are very specific. These are ways to create something exquisite and special to solve a very specific problem for somebody you can help. It's personal. It's like, imagine, I love the concept of design thinking. Have you heard of design thinking, Eric?
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh, it's so cool. And this is a principle that is super valuable for everybody in federal contracting and everybody who ever had to sell anything to anyone. The concept comes from Stanford University, and it's well worth looking up, called design thinking. Okay. I want you to tell me, Eric, you and me are both going to think for a minute and about what present would you love someone to give you, you've always wanted, and maybe you've never really talked about very much. And if somebody gave you this present, whether it was a physical thing or an experience or a gift, you'd go, oh, how did you know? Think about one of those things. What would that thing be? What would the present be that you would love to get? Now, if you're listening, I want you to drop your present you would love to get. Drop that in the chat. Okay. Because we're going to play a little game here for a minute. Okay. So drop your perfect present, describe it in the chat. All right. So Eric, tell me, what would your perfect, if Maria were to give you a present?
I want to go to Monaco.
Trip to Monaco.
Trip to Monaco.
All expense paid, including casino money, right?
Yep. That's right.
Trip to Monaco.
I want to
So,
go, but I want to go when they're racing, when they're doing the car races. So I
oh,
want to,
Formula One. You want to spend the Formula One. You want to see the Formula One
I want to see
competition.
the race in
I
Monaco.
completely get that. I completely get that. I know somebody who knows the Crown Prince of Monaco.
Ooh, so
Who
I'm
knew?
close. I'm 2 degrees separation.
You're 2 degrees of separation from the. Yeah. Now, how did you know? You're 2 degrees of separation from the Crown Prince of Monaco just because you asked the question.
You asked that question. I have it on my. It's actually on my bucket list of things.
There you go. So now, if you were to
Which,
give,
by the way, happens to be in my background bucket list.
there you go. So if you were to give me
Okay.
a trip to Monaco to visit with the Crown Prince and see the drivers and do the walkthrough and do the pit tour, I would go. I know someone who would love that, but I would probably give it away to somebody else. For me, that trip would be a curated eco tour with scientists to the Antarctic.
Ooh.
I would love that. If I gave that to you, you go, seriously? There's no
I
gambling, no
wouldn't take
girls,
that.
and no
Maria
cars.
might.
Why
Maria
would you
might like
send
that
me?
though. That sounds like a Maria trip.
There you go.
Maria probably would go with you on that one.
And so the reason why, there we go, all expense paid to Lisbon, Portugal. Alpaca socks. There you see. And so if X Schultz gave alpaca socks to Keeson would go, thanks, I guess. So the whole point of design thinking is to know your client, know your customer well enough that by the time you deliver the thing, they go, oh, how did you know? Do you know your client well enough to design an experience, a product, a report, an assessment that can make their eyes light up and go, oh, yes. Yes, like Meg Ryan, yes, and Harry Met Sally, that kind of yes, for those who are old enough to remember. So to be able to know your client well enough, micro purchase is your way of giving them the how did you know experience in microcosm. I go back to one of my favorite writers and poets, Dr. Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel.
Yep.
And when you give someone that gift, that perfectly designed, perfectly written report, perfectly designed product or training or prototype, you make them feel heard and seen and cared for and understood. And that comes from conversations that you have with them. The conversation you have when you ask them, what's going on with you now? If you could do this acquisition differently, or construct that stairwell differently, or have them put in that electrical box differently, what would you have wanted to see? How would you have wanted to be treated? What experience would you have want to have had with a contractor who really took care of you? And then listen, really listen. Now, this doesn't happen in a big hurry. It might take you 3 or 4 or 5. I can't tell you. I could go back and look it up how many conversations I had with my wonderful client at Citizenship and Immigration Services. It took a lot. And I only have that one contract with Citizenship and Immigration Services because ultimately they weren't necessarily the client that I was meant to serve forever. Any federal agency where I don't have more business, it's only because I didn't invest the time and continue to woo them and get to know them, because it's not like you turn on the tap and it gushes. You have to build the relationship every time. Now, Eric, you had to build relationships, even if you started out with a couple $100,000 job. Eventually, you won multi-million-dollar projects, right?
Right.
But that didn't happen
Sometimes,
automatically.
no, and again, we sometimes, my most recent experience, we start out with a $40,000 project.
Mhm.
And I built a relationship. I built a rapport. In fact, it was the person I was dealing with, I thought for a very long time did not like me.
Why?
but we were
Just
building,
difference in
rapport.
communication style?
It felt like we were fighting throughout the negotiations of the project.
What
Um,
changed? That's so interesting.
you know what changed actually is when I made a couple very good points, and it showed that I put the best interest of the government first and not my own self interest. And I believe she recognized that because there was something written incorrectly, that I was able to show them that I'm not here trying to get more money. The people who, and again, because the contracting officer didn't write the scope, right? It came from someone else. So the person who wrote the scope wrote it incorrectly, and I proved that by a written statement from the manufacturer. And so I essentially saved them from making a really big mistake. And so I guess that changed the perception of me to the fact that I was providing real value and not just another contractor trying to get a check.
Mm. How so that's interesting. So you were able to show them that you knew how to help them follow the rules.
Right.
The what I call the holy trifecta is follow the rules, make it easy, make them look good. Eileen Kent and I teach that all the time. And if you're thinking about, I'm trying to build a relationship, you've heard the old, they have to know you, like you, trust you. And the fourth piece of that, and I give credit to former head of small business programs at the VA, Tom Lenny. Do I know you? Do I like you? Do I trust you? How can I get to you? That's the contract vehicles piece. And contract vehicle piece might, in some cases, the answer to that might be micro purchase at first. How can I get to you? How can I try you? But make it easy, follow the rules, make me look good. Those three things. Always ask those. If the things aren't going anywhere, which of those things are you not paying attention to?
But I
You're
can say
talking.
this, Judy, that
Mhm.
on finishing that story, we went from like some division to actually the next time we negotiate a project together, that same contract specialist defended me against one of the other government persons and says, no, Eric and I have already discussed this and we've already agreed upon a number. So like it was
Wow.
that person protected me and defended me
Wow.
on the next round of negotiations.
It doesn't get better than that.
No,
That's the difference between having a customer and having an advocate.
right.
You talk about degrees of customer intimacy, and one is they don't even know you exist. One is they're aware of you and interested in engaging. The third, they make a first purchase, no matter how small. The next one is they come back.
Right.
And the next one, they refer you to others and advocate for you. So communication styles are important, though. And I was wondering whether or not that was another thing in the mix. One of the things to keep in mind is how risk averse federal buyers are. They have everything on the line when they choose you. One of my favorite federal acquisition professionals, Dottie Romo, who I had met through a client because she was their contracting point of contact in one of the parts of the Department of Justice. Now she's working in Treasury as a very senior official, and uh, she was talking about what was it? Uh, lost my train of thought on that one. Um, I will come back to it in a minute. Um, but anyway, communication styles really important, and sometimes the way that you're communicating with somebody just might not be their style. So whatever tools that you use, whatever systems that you use to understand differences in communication styles and adapt can be really, really important. So one of those, I'm going to put this in the chat right now. Um, one of my clients recommended to me a book by Chris Voss, who's a former FBI hostage
Mm,
negotiator.
yes.
And his book is called Never Split the Difference. And I've
Yes.
just
I have
finished
it.
reading it last night. And I really like the different negotiation styles that he talks about, including the importance of no. Not just someone will say no and no and no, and then it will be now, which is also true, but to set up the dialogue in a way that you give somebody the opportunity to answer a question with the word no, but that gives them some clarity. It gives them the power of saying no to you. And it also gives you the chance to receive the word no and not have a complete freak out meltdown. Because people are going to say no to, we're business owners. People are going to say no to us a lot. But there's a different way to shape a conversation, which was very cool. And I like that a bunch. Yes, Craig just ordered it yesterday. Excellent. Excellent. So I think we answered the question, what's a micro purchase? Colin, I like the idea of priming the pump. One of the other things, who are my sailors? Are you a sailor, Eric?
I'm not a sailor. No.
All right. So those of us who are sailors recognize something that I talk about called the monkey's fist. A monkey's fist is like a rope that's tied in a little knot in a ball, a very specific thing. And it's something that gets tossed when two ships are trying to attach to each other, or a ship is trying to moor. You throw this tiny thing on a really light line across, and then you attach a heavier line, and then a heavier line, and then a heavier line. Because you can't throw one of those big, huge
Right.
rope. You can't throw that across
Okay.
and hope that that gets there. But you throw that one across and the heavier line. So the micro purchase is like the monkey's fist. It's the tiny little thing that makes it possible to have a longer, heavier line or deeper, thicker bond between you and your buyer.
I like that.
That's something to think about. It's that opportunity to build trust. And important to keep in mind that order splitting, taking $100,000 purchase and breaking it up into $10,000 purchases, no. That you shouldn't be doing that. There's only so many micro purchases that should be made of a thing by an office before they should be using a different type of different contract vehicle. So it's a great place to start, but you can't necessarily keep on doing them forever and build a whole pile of them that should have been done, that add up to something that should have been done a different way. Okay.
Right.
So that's something, it's a great place to start. Okay. Oh, thank you, Maria. Maria just put the link in the chat. So who else has a first contract that they might like to win? What would you like to offer to a federal buyer that is in an agency where you haven't done business before? Give us a new challenge. Give us a new challenge. I'd love to hear about that. Okay. Luz wanted to know, can we find a contractor and create an agreement? Contract and create an agreement for a micro purchase. You don't have to have a fancy agreement. If your question is there someplace online where you can download an agreement for micro purchase? You don't need one. You can have I did an exchange of emails for mine. This is what we're doing and this is when it is. And I think he went back and said, I need a little more information on this. We just did it by email and it was done. And the contracting team looked at it and we were all good to go. So I love micro purchase for not only a company that is just looking for their first contract. Micro purchase is also great for established companies that are looking to try something new, build a first contract with a new federal agency as well. So for sure, who here would love to win a contract within the next 4 weeks for $10,000? Just put me in the chat. Who would love to do that? Who would want to have $10,000 coming your way? Anybody? Let's see. Colin says, I'm working on the CO for USDA's Office of Communications based on the forecast list, 23 emails, follow-ups, and 0 responses. So Colin, first of all, good on you for persistence. All right. Now, the contracting officer is just one of your layers.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, what contacts you have with the end user, and how or whether the small business specialist is aware of you and is supporting your efforts or has no clue that you're alive. So those are some of the questions I had. So yeah, all right, Colin.
My question I have for Judy is, how many
Yeah.
phone calls? I didn't see any phone calls.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
the first thing I saw. I'm like, how many phone calls?
I'm going to give you a secret to success that comes from my call team. Now more than ever, a technique called double tap is working really well. Here's what double tap is. You leave the voicemail and say, and check your email. I've got details there. You have that email queued up and ready to go. So even if, and you make your voicemail short. So there's a whole other thing about leaving voicemails. In fact, I had this this is why I was late logging on. I was a little later than I usually am tonight. Somebody had sent me a an email saying, I attended this conference in Huntsville a few months ago. This was last October. And you did this presentation. I really liked it. And please let me know your thoughts. If you want to have a phone conversation, let me know and we'll set it up. My cell phone is. I looked at this and it was, what time was this? This was 5:26. And I went, it's 5:30. I hit the button and I called her and we just had a 15-minute conversation. She was so shocked that I actually called her back. Now that I know, Colin, this is the place you would like to be. But that being said, she and I agreed that the phone is the single most underutilized marketing tool. And you know what? It's the thing that scares people the
I was
most.
gonna say it scares it. It's a scary thing.
So let's talk about scary. All right, because
It's
in
the
order,
scary
and this
thing.
is important because in order to win this micro purchase, where'd it go? Just a second. I'm going to show you the thing you need most in order to win the micro purchase. Just a second. This is it. The number one thing you need to win a micro purchase is your phone. This is not something that's going to come ripping out through email. You're going to have to, and Colin, you're on the long end of this. I'm going to tell you. Oh, voicemails. You don't even need a 2-minute voicemail. 60 seconds max, maybe 30 seconds. And with the voicemails, I'm going to give you a couple of voicemail tips. All right. First of all, you have 30 seconds of someone's undivided attention. Treat it like gold. Be just as enthusiastic and excited, like really, in your voicemail as though you had reached that person in person. All right. Give it that amount of love and care. I'm so glad that we're connected. So sorry I missed you. Here's what it is that I'm calling about. It's calling with assessment services that you can use and the best value anywhere. Check your email. I've got details. Missed you today. I'm going to call you back Thursday at 2. Talk to you soon. And Colin, you make a note on your calendar and you call them back on Thursday at 2. You pay attention to what time zone they're in. So it's 2:00 their time. And you call them. You call them back when you said you were going to call them. And you're probably not going to reach them. You're going to leave another message. But it's going to be, you're going to think about 3 or 4 different things that represent the best value that your company provides. What sets you apart? Why are you memorable? Why do they really want to talk to you? Gee, we're the construction company that has the best EMR rating on the East Coast, bar none. Whatever it is that you do, thread one of those things into the voicemail and do the double tap and leave the next call date and time. By the time you get around to leaving 4 or 5 of those, and don't be shy, don't go, oh, well, I called 3 weeks ago. You have to find what I call the sweet spot between apathy and pestilence. And it's different for everybody. And so you're calling public servants. I'm going to say that again. You're calling public servants. Our public servants are paid to serve us as taxpayers and to work with it. Their success depends on how well they work with us as vendors. And so at the very least, if you leave an enthusiastic, focused message related to a specific acquisition, a specific requirement, and you persist, at the very least, they will eventually call you back, odds are good, and pass you on to somebody else. After you've left the combination of 23 emails and messages, not sent 23 routine email newsletters, you can also enlist the help of the small business specialist. You don't want to be just hitting on one person. The contracting officer, sometimes they don't buy what you do. Sometimes they don't need what you do right now. Sometimes you've just left early. Hi, it's Joe again. Would you please call me? This is the 14th message. Goodbye. Really? Have something to offer, have something to say. with the follow-up email, have something interesting that you know they would value based on their responsibilities. So after you've gone around, and as well, you also want to have contacted the end user, depending on what it is that you offer. The contracting officer has the power to award the contract. They may not be the one that's involved in specifying exactly what it is the end user needs. If the end user's in love with you, then, and instead of the contracting officer, we really need to talk to Colin. He's got the thing, the training we need for our thing in July. Return his call, please. We need to do business with Colin. That's a whole different game. Colin, I hope that helped a little bit. Yeah,
I can,
absolutely. Scripted out. Scripts are not your enemy. Now, and this is a hard thing for me to say because I squandered my undergraduate career as a competitive debater. And I have to admit, I was also really terrible at it. Um, and the thing that I never really understood, why it was that Andy Taylor and Steve Coughlin won all the big trophies, was because they understood something that took me 25 years or longer to really figure out, that if you want to win their minds, you have to connect through the heart. Now, it's why really great public speakers, they'll say, oh, you have to start off with a joke and going, oh, just shoot me. But if you're connecting with somebody at the heart level, at the gut level, then they're a little more open to
right,
who are you? What do you care about?
right.
And so you really want to be able to understand what these folks need, what they're all about. And as a debater, the rules in the debating competitions were absolutely that you were forbidden to read your speech. You could refer briefly to notes. So I really struggle with anything that's reading from a script. I can give a script a really good cold read if I have to. But the downside is that when you're staggering and making it up as you go along, sometimes you the 2-minute voicemail that goes on and on and on and on because you forgot exactly what you're going to say, that's not your friend. A really clean script, 30 seconds delivered well and with enthusiasm, that's memorable. That's a service to the person that you're connecting with. That actually shows you've invested time in creating a succinct message that will be memorable and enthusiastic and is about something they're going to care about. So that is actually marketing as an act of service.
Love it.
So
That was good
I
stuff.
hope that helps. Yeah. And sometimes, one of the things that we develop for our clients in one of our programs, and this is only available through our program, we have a federal email wizard that lets you kind of pick and pull little phrases to put together a really succinct email that has all the elements in it that you'd want. That's one of those things that we do just for our clients. But you can do those things. The time you invest is just like a marketing checklist, but it will make it easier.
By the way,
Thanks,
let's kind
Colin.
of reset the room. We're at 7:03. We're talking about mighty micro purchases. Judy's asked several questions and people to respond inside the chat stating which agency would you like to win a micro purchase from? Okay, what thing of value, service, assessment could you provide that's under
What problem
10,000?
can you solve for less than
Less
$10,000?
than
What problem do you
$10,000.
solve for less than
Right.
$10,000? And which federal agency would you like to offer it to? And
Okay.
if you're not sure how to do it, we'll improv it right here and solve the problem for you.
And again,
Some ideas.
we've been, as you can see, like we worked with Colin, we've talked to several other people on here, and we're answering your questions, trying to help for the most part, not solve your particular situation, but at least
Get you
address
started.
it.
Open the door.
We can start opening the door and addressing it.
Get you to the on ramp
Right.
on the micro purchase superhighway.
So again, this is your time. 77 people on here watching, and again, there should be a lot more questions. There should be a lot more comments. People, let us know what you're struggling with, what your issues are. Listen, again, I tell you this: Judy does not have to be here. Okay, she is spending time with us, investing her time. She could be sailing, she could be skiing, she could be mountain climbing. What else do you do, Judy? What other crazy things do you do?
I fly airplanes.
She flies airplanes. What else?
I'm an indoor rock climbing instructor. I'm a scuba diver.
So she could be out there risking her life, but instead she's spending her time with us.
Yeah. But you can also spend some time with me. So Maria, would you, as we're sort of grinding past the 7 o'clock, drop some other notes and locks in the chat. One of the things that I'm doing, I've got a webinar coming up, federal data diving, how to bring home the gold. So one of the things that we talked about was the importance of competitive analysis, knowing who else is doing business with your competitors. I'm going to be talking about where that information is, how to find it, and how to work with it in a webinar that's coming up on 422 on April 22nd, Thursday, April 22nd. And so this is a complimentary webinar. I only give this once a year, federal data diving. You're welcome to that one. And I have a whole webinar with all the details on Mighty Micro Purchase, Sole Source Superpower. It's a class that you can get right now on Govology. It's one of my partners. And if you're working with your Procurement Technical Assistance Center, a lot of them have an agreement their clients can access the Govology webinars for free. So, don't pay money for something. Eric, you talk about the contracting officer that you didn't put your interest first. Don't pay money to Govology unless you have to,
That's
which
right.
means I don't get paid, but I want you to get the best value and save your money for something you need, like, doing business with Eric.
Yeah.
And
But
so, do you know, it doesn't matter if you have a small staff. And Paul, no, it does not. They have to know that you can do the work competently at a fair and reasonable price. So that's one of the other reasons they're going to want to meet you. They're going to look you in the eyeballs and go, I get Aunt Paul. I want some Aunt Paul. He's the one who can solve my problem for me. Exactly right. Some things are harder. NYC Realtors, I struggle with getting contracts as a residential real estate broker. If the government's not buying residential real estate, sometimes the federal government isn't your client. Now, they buy everything, but you've got to be willing to go the distance and figure out where's the sweet spot. What problem do you solve for them? Sometimes, sure, they may need to rent residential properties. Maybe they would need residential properties, for example, in disaster recovery, but they're going to need to know who you are long before Hurricane What's-It goes barreling through town. Right. Julie, thank you so much for saying that the experiences that you've had and the things you've learned are helpful. Julie says, this advice works. I read your book, schedule a call for my friend, the chief of procurement, for 5 to 7 minutes. He did a Zoom meeting, pulled her bid and caught a missing document, and she's able to fix it. Yeah. Beautiful.
Look at that. Look at that.
So you're helping solve problems for people. This is great.
It's fine. I didn't even read that. I don't even know where you saw that.
Yeah. So extra facilities maintenance and/or installing acrylic plexiglass guards for any agency in Colorado. Okay. Any agency in Colorado is not your client.
We keep telling you, we keep
Look
telling
at
everyone,
the data.
you don't work for anyone.
That's
You
right.
don't
And
work
see,
for everyone.
I'm going to
not
drop
for
it
anyone.
in here. HTTPS: okay, FPDS. PDS.gov is your friend. So here you can look up individual contracts there. And the other thing you need to do if you want to know who buys what you do, run, do not walk to what's right now is beta.sam.gov. It's going to be sam.gov. You're going to go to the contract data section, go to the information center, the learning center on beta.sam, and learn how to create ad hoc reports. This is a lot of stuff. So I'm going to drop this in the chat as well. So go to, you have to log on, beta.sam.gov to the Learning Center, and then watch the videos, video lessons on how, here we go, how to create and use ad hoc reports. This is going, anybody who has lusted in their heart after having one of these big name data subscription services, and you're going, if only I had insert name of stuff.
Right.
But it's $30,000, it's $8,000, it's $5,000. I'm now going to save you $30,000. Go and take half a day of your life, all right, and learn how to use ad hoc reports. Because what you learn in being able to find your buyer, focus on the individual federal humans. There are fields for created by, approved by, modified by. Learn what's in the data, because you get detective style clues for the people who are buying, who are making approvals for what you do. And that's the start. One contact in building out the players at all 5 layers. which is why I say that federal business can be as close as the palm of your hand if you do that homework and start with that data and understand who are your players at all 5 layers.
By the way, we just did players and layers a few weeks back, so we'll drop that in the
Would
chat
you
as well.
drop if you could drop the GovCon Personas guide into the chat again? If you've ever wondered, who are those people? And what do I ask them? What do they care about? I have 22 pages of complimentary goodness in how you can understand who they are and know what to do and say and ask. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just say GovCon Giants in LinkedIn so I'll know where we met and ask your question. Connect with me on LinkedIn. 2.1 million federal employees are on LinkedIn. It's a great source. Those of you who are struggling with who's my end user, who needs what I do, how can I get in front of them? If you think about the typical job titles for people whose problems you solve every day, the job titles of the people who are your current customers, and then look for people with that similar job title in federal agencies that are located near you, that starts to build out your own players and layers that could unlock those micro purchases for you. And this is a great time of year to have the conversations now because people get all excited about, oh, it's the fourth quarter of the fiscal year. I think I want to get me some micro purchases. They're not going to dump money on strangers who are just ambulance chasing in the last 4 weeks of the fiscal year. They still want to get to know you.
Ouch.
We're now in we've just launched the second half of the federal fiscal year. Go make some friends. If you don't have time to get to know your federal buyer, they sure as heck do not have time to get to know you.
Well, again, if you don't make those relationships today, I know you'll be standing in September, October. So on the
On the
sidelines.
sidewalk, baby.
On the sidelines. By the way, inside of our free course, the first thing is, does the government buy what I sell? We walk you through FPDS. We walk you through looking up agencies. It's free. We walk you through that. So there's no reason to have confusion in this. It's more of you not doing the work. And like Judy said, take out a half a day, take out a few hours, watch the video, do the
We
activity.
used to have to go and get on a plane and run all over the country to find this stuff out.
Yes.
20 years ago, this stuff, the only way 30 years ago, the only way you could get this stuff, you could tell who the data geeks were because the Federal Procurement Data System published a report once a year in hard copy with 2 sets of profiles in it, profiles by agency and profiles by, I want to say, NAICS code. And they had the same construction paper cover and with a big, huge, heavy staple, but it was a different color of ink and paper every year. The people who are data geeks had these things on their shelf and they were sticky-eared and dog-eared and looked like trash. Those were the data geeks in the days before there was FPDS online. I know because I had a whole shelf of them. That's how old I am. And so things have gotten so much easier, but this creates what I call opportunity illusion.
Right. Tell us.
You would think that with all this data, all of this stuff available online, it would be easier than ever to win contracts, right?
That's what I would think.
Not so much. This is because people look at all of this stuff all big-eyed and they're asking, what can I bid?
Right. Right.
Everything changes. It's eye crossing. Everything changes when you stop asking, what can I bid? And look at that data through the lens of who is my buyer and how can I get to know them before the next requirement comes out. That changes everything. So,
but even I think one of the things that Judy that you keep saying, and that's why I'm allowing you to say it, because sometimes again, and I'm me saying the same things over and over again, maybe they've heard it so many times. So I like for someone different to come on and say that, because maybe like hear from you like, oh, okay, it makes sense now. Right. And what I'm seeing in the chats and the people coming on is we keep saying, name your specific agency, and people are saying all agencies, all departments, and it just doesn't
there's
exist. The
no
whole
such
Navy,
thing
the
as
whole Air
selling
Force.
to the government
Right.
or the DOD or the Air Force. There's a
Right.
specific federal human who signed that contract with your competitor yesterday afternoon. Who are they?
And the
They
thing is,
should have known who you are.
right, exactly. And we again, go back and watch the previous videos where we discussed that, right? Judy's been on, I think 4 times already. We discussed these things. We gave actual examples. So there's no reason why anyone on here, you don't have access to that information to go back and learn this. So at least that you can speak intelligently when you come on and when you're talking to these people. That's probably why a lot of times we have fears, right? Because we have not studied, we are not learning the information. And so that doesn't give us the confidence to be able to talk to our fellow human on the other side.
Yeah,
Does that
you've
make
got to
sense?
know. And we spend a lot of time. This is one of the things we do with in the back half of the Federal Business Intensive is my 8-week program. And in the first 4 weeks, we're understanding the federal sales game. We're doing the data pull. We're creating the sales plan. And then it's overwhelming. You're going, okay, now here's everything in just my niche. And boy, is this a crap ton of stuff. I'm going,
Right.
okay, breathe. Now you're going to work up one set of 5 federal humans. Who are those? Who is the small business specialist? Where did they come from? Where did they work? Where did they go to school? What vendors are they going to know that have been awarded contracts there? Who's the contracting officer and the contracting specialist? Who have they chosen
Mhm.
to meet their needs? Why would they be in love with those people? All right. Who are your end users? What are they afraid of? Why might they have what might they like about the people who are already in there? Who are the individual vendors that they like? What are those people? Who are the people that they're going to be talking to? Who's the stakeholder who's going to fall on his sword or fall on her sword if things don't go well? They're the one who are going to get in trouble and be on the front page of the internet if stuff goes badly. Figure out who are those individual people. Then what would a micro engagement, not a micro purchase, but micro engagement look like for them? What might interest them in returning your call? What does the big goal look like for them? And then what would be the milestones on the way to their goal, not your goal, but their goal? And what would those tiny experiences look like on the road to that big goal for success? If you know them well enough, then you're going to start to give them the experience that every time Eric calls, every time Sylvia calls, every time Jeffrey calls, every time Colin calls, they'll know, oh, something great's going to happen. Colin always knows just what I need. Colin always says something great for me, even if it's just a cheery word. He knows I like those Far Side cartoons. Whatever that is, you're taking them a little closer to their goal, and they know that it's a win. They get that tiny little dopamine hit. Oh, Sylvia called. Ooh, Leilani called. I got to call her back. Her messages are always great. So you want to
Can you
give them that experience every time.
can you offer Jeffrey an example of an end user?
Sure. Jeffrey, do you know what industry Jeffrey is in? Because I can give you an idea of who end users are for you,
Right.
Jeffrey.
I
Um,
don't I don't know.
and so we'll take a quick peek if I can. But so your end user might be your facility manager. Um, it might be your help center supervisor. Um, Everett. Uh, So, um, what else might it be? Let's see. It depends. It really depends on your industry, but
Right.
they're the person who's stuck with the consequences of the supplies. It might be the nurse. It might be the training supervisor. It might be the administrative assistant who didn't get all of the office supplies they needed.
Right.
It's the end users are the people whose business cards you have every day who buy or use what you do. They're your actual customers. Sylvia says, I want FEMA. Sylvia, you don't want FEMA. FEMA is not your buyer. You want someone who is in maybe a FEMA region or district,
Mhm.
and the FEMA itself has a coordinating role. Sometimes they don't buy, sometimes they do. It may be that if you're providing a product or a service that's needed for disaster response, you might actually have to be doing business with the General Services Administration.
Mhm.
You may be that the General Services Administration customer service director in a specific region needs to know who you are because they're putting together groups of vendors that they have a blanket purchase agreement all set up for when a disaster happens. It may be that the National Guard in a specific state has a role in incident response, and the National Guard may be the people that you need to know. They're the player that's involved in buying what you do. So you've really got to know how buying happens in the case of a disaster response and how somebody buys what you do. And if you have a thing, but you have no distribution network, you can't get it to them. That's not really helpful. So they've
Right.
got to know that you have access and you can get them what they need. So, great question. Airmaster says Cobb County Department of Health. Right. Jesse says Southwest Region Base Services Food Service at Luke Air Force Base. That's so interesting, Jesse. Um, and so, if you wanted to provide food service, sometimes people want to provide catering. Sometimes if you want to be the food service contractor, that's different from. I was lurking on a Clubhouse dialogue, and instead of wandering around like the know-it-all and thinking, why aren't these people talking to me? I know everything. I just sat back and listened. I was waiting for somebody to get their COVID shot, um, and the things we do. And um, this particular person had a food truck service. And so people were coming out of the military base and they had their food truck there, and people loved their food. So when the chance came up to be the concessionaire to supply food for the bowling alley, and they bid on it, well, everybody knew what their food was, and they got that contract in part because they had built the reputation through the food service through the food truck. So, um, and Paul, thanks for signing up for the webinar. So people need to know who you are. They need to have again, tricky times to be providing any food service at all these
Mhm.
days. But
Yeah.
it may be that you have a single event they want catered or something like that. Take a look and see who they're doing business with now. If they have big franchise service company and you are a small franchise company, maybe they've got a special event thing coming. Maybe talk to the small business specialist as well, see whether or not there's a portion of the work that could be set aside for small business, if there's enough small businesses that could scrap it out for that piece. So
We
you
actually
got to
have a
figure out what they need.
we have a student that provides catered food to to the detainees.
Mhm.
So
There's opportunities
because
in a
where they're
lot of
at, there's
places.
no food. There's no way to cook. There's no way to cook or prepare meals. So they cater the
Mm,
food out to all the detainees. So,
interesting. Interesting.
but people don't,
S-
again, but that doesn't come through the Air Force Base, right? So
mhm.
that would come through like Customs and Border Patrol.
Oh, right. Customs and Border Protection. And
Right.
you've still got to know who they are. And again, they too have a mandate to do business with local businesses. It's a reason why being in the local area makes a big difference. Sometimes your differentiator is you're 200 yards outside the chain link fence at Patuxent River Naval Air Station. Local, local, local. That can be a best value. Your best value doesn't have to be technical or complicated or a proprietary process. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And um, a T. Sage Goodman says, as a former core, I would recommend all contractors understand the end user concept. Thank you so much, person Goodman. That's it's so important. Contracting officers representative is it's kind of at the intersection between they're the end user's representative into the contracting side. They're right at that crossover in our diagram. Exactly right. Jesse, so glad we were able to help you a little bit. I hope that everyone here has got a way to take home $10,000 sometime over the next couple of months. I would love to see some thumbs up. And if you're listening here, I don't know how many people are left, give me one thumb up for every $10,000 you think you can win as a result of being on here. So we'd love to see even if it's one thumb up, then you can imagine winning at least $10,000 using our advice and ideas from today. So let me see all the thumbs up for all the $10,000 contracts you think
While
you
you're
could win
giving
between
thumbs
now
up,
and
make sure to
September
like this
30th.
video because we're still about 20 people short on likes.
Oh,
Judy,
boo.
the last question, I think this is a great question for you from Evan.
Yep. Just tuned in. Want to know, can a Canadian get American contracts if they register their company in an American state? Evan, under the trade agreements, your company can be based purely in Canada, and you are allowed to, if you meet the other buyer requirements, you can be awarded a contract without being set up in the United States. The trade agreements permit that. You can find out more from your trade Commissioner Service. There's a website, which I know because I built it when I worked for the Canadian Embassy, which I don't know whether you knew. And
I knew that. That's why
yeah,
I
sell,
said it.
sell to US Gov. So that's a softball for me. I will also tell you that although the law doesn't require you to have a U.S. subsidiary or a U.S. office or a U.S. business card, that is also if you have a U.S. representative or a U.S. partner, U.S. phone number, and not a post office box, but maybe it's a Regis office or whatever it is. You're going to lower your buyer's perception of risk if you are set up as a local company. You have to be very clear about what it is that you offer. If it's made in Canada, if it's compliant with the trade agreements, if you have people that are coming to the United States, that your people are not going to be turned back at the border. They have proper credentials to be doing work in the United States. So many things are done online now. So if you're offering a service, if you build the relationship, odds are good probably even better than 2 years ago, that if you build the relationship, you might be able to do that. Cross-border data transfer, tricky. Overseas, meaning outside of the United States, or foreign citizens handling some kinds of classified data, that's an issue. So a lot of it depends on who you are, but the answer is absolutely that you and your company, if you're based in Canada, can do business with the federal government. The first 5,000 clients I helped were among those that I helped win over $200 billion of work under the trade agreements. So if you're not working with your trade commissioner service, Evan, you should be. And so I'm just going to drop a link in the chat there, or, just connect with me on LinkedIn. All right. And I'll make sure you get the link to your trade commissioner. Sorry.
There you
Actually,
go.
I'll do that anyway. All
That's
right.
easier. Yeah, connect with Judy. I mean, again, that was, like she said, a softball layup, because that's where Judy first got her start in the world of government contracting. So I knew that, and those who've read her book probably know it as well. So what else? All right. Let's see. All right, please, I gotta get in your next book. Do you recommend connecting with construction GCs who turn down smaller micro opportunities that would make me happy? Aligning with a company that already has been introduced to the end user.
And this link is for Evan about the trade commissioner service. There you go. Having to close a large capital to start out. Thanks.
Evan says he's 15 years old.
I'm 15. Okay, how close to okay, I'm 15. Well,
He's a teenager.
All right then. How cool is that? You start somewhere.
See, Judy, we bring all kind of people on here.
Isn't that truly awesome?
Isn't that awesome? I think that's pretty amazing. We're already we're preparing the next generation.
Wow. Adidishi, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you've appreciated the webinar. If you're here and your company is established in the federal market, you're looking for a private program that can teach you the data, give you a sales plan, and get you launched and building that relationship network in at least 3 places where you're confident you can win work, our federal business intensive may be a good fit for you. And so you can certainly book an appointment, see whether you fit. If you want to have all of our team working for you, getting your prospects all set up and getting you ready to roll, I can certainly drop that link in the chat if you think that you might be a candidate for, and you want to go and see whether it might be a fit for you. So we've got our fast track to federal contracts call, and I'll just drop that link in there, and you can apply for a conversation, and we can see whether or not we're a fit to work together. I always forget to do that, but you have people who are at some really advanced stages of contracting and are ready for something different than they've been trying. And so this is a private program. So it's not a group, it's not a class, it's not a database. It's 8 weeks of hard work. If you are up for 8 weeks of hard work, if you have at least 5 million in revenue, if you've got at least 5 people in your company involved in different aspects of federal sales and business development, you've been in business at least 5 years, triple fives, you could be my people. Find out. But hats off to you, Eric, for all that you have invested to create great resources, great programs, things that are cost effective, that are approachable. I really appreciated from our conversation understanding your passion for giving back and making it easier, just like I want to make it
Easy,
easier
right.
for people who we both want to make sure that people don't have to go through the hard stuff we went through. You'll find your own hard stuff, but
Yes.
nobody should have to go through the hoops and the pains and the ick that we went through to learn what we've learned. And so my hat is off to you for
Thank
investing
you.
so much to help so many people. And I'm honored to be able to share a complimentary part of that to keep people making
No,
good
this
decisions and on the road to success.
thank you. No, we again, like you said, I've spent so much time and energy, and I've struggled so many years that I just want to share with people the things that I've learned, experiences I've had, and hope that they can take away a couple nuggets from it. So again, but you said something which is really critical is that it is work, and you have to be willing to invest the time, the effort into it. I see so many of you who watch 5 minutes of a video, 7 minutes of a video, and then you say, "Hey, I figured it out. I've learned everything," and you don't even stay till the end. So, so many folks that even, like you said, if you buy the programs, you don't do the work. You've got to do the work. You have to watch the content. You have to apply it. You have to. If you have a fear, you have to let us know what are your fears so we can help you overcome them. Because again, you can't do half of the activity and expect to get the whole result. I'm just, I'm observing, and I see again, I see a lot of familiar faces. I see a lot of new people as well, which I'm happy because I do personally try and respond to all my comments on YouTube, um, Judy, and that's a real tough one there. But I do appreciate you. By the way, Evan says you didn't drop that link, so we
I
didn't.
did. I just dropped it back in again.
Okay,
It's
send it to
right
me on the
there.
chat. You see it?
I will do that. I'll send it to you on the chat
'Cause
as well. So
but you
for our
somehow my
Canadians,
delay, you see the messages sooner than I receive them.
oh, okay.
I'll drop it in. I'll make sure it's there, Evan.
All right.
All right.
Absolutely. Look at all those nice thumbs up. I'm
Thumbs
liking them.
up.
I'm liking them.
No, this is great. This is great. Um, Judy, let's go ahead and give them. Let's get. You know what I'd like to do, Judy?
What's up?
I, let's give them a homework assignment.
Okay. I here's the assignment that I would like to propose for homework assignment. And where should they post it, Eric? Do you have a GovCon Giants LinkedIn group?
We do have a LinkedIn group on GovCon Giants. Yes.
Okay, that might be a place to drop it. So my homework would be to design a the perfect micro purchase offer. What can you do for $9,999? What's your perfect micro purchase offer that is irresistible? The irresistible micro purchase offer. What would it be and who would it be for? All right. So let's talk about the buyer, the situation, and what the offer is and why they would like it. And Eric, if you forward me the contenders, I will send a free copy of my book to the best micro purchase pitch.
All right. So design the perfect micro purchase offer, the buyer, the situation.
The irresistible micro purchase offer, and that what you
Okay.
can do for less than $10,000, and why they would want it, what problem you solve. Make the pitch. What problem can you solve for less than $10,000, and who do you solve it for? Now, I'm making it up as I go along here, so it's not the most succinct challenge. All
Okay.
right. What problem do you solve? Who do you solve it for? Really specific to the office, the command, not just we do this for DoD. No. In the Air Force Academy staffing office in Colorado Springs, Colorado, we have a system for screening applicants for the food service industry. All right, be real specific. Okay. And where would you submit that? Eric, where should they send it? Just
I'm pulling up a link now.
okay. Thanks,
I'm
Evan.
dropping a
You already
link.
have the book, Brian. Ah, geez. I can send you the
Right.
workbook.
He doesn't have a signed copy.
Well, it's true. But if you have the book, I bet you don't have the workbook.
Ooh, there you go.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
All right.
Mm. So, all right. So I would love to know, have we achieved our mission? Our mission was to show you how you can win your first purchase or your next one with a new federal agency. Just what do we want them to drop in the chat if we've done our job?
if we've done our job, um, give us a smiley face.
Smiley face. Let us see the smiley faces if we have done the
Give us
job.
a smiley face if
Your
we've done our
time was
job today.
worthwhile. You know the way to win more business through micro purchases. Let's see the smiley faces.
Yeah, give us a smiley face.
And I'm not going to sing James Taylor's song because I've learned that consultants should never sing on the internet unless they are professional singers. Not a good plan.
Okay. All right.
There, Brian, if you don't have the workbook, you can play the game.
That's right. Brian, you should play the game anyways. Good. Especially you in particular, because you're the one that was very interested in what Judy did.
Let's see those smiles. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mandua. Thanks, Julie. Let me know when we should talk. If please use the link and book a conversation if you think you are ready for your company to work with mine. I've got openings for the right people. If your company is a fit with mine, then don't be shy. I totally get it. And if you're not, that's okay. You've got Eric's services, you got PTAX, you got all kinds of help. Part of why I do this is so I have a chance to maybe meet you. You might be my person. You're not going to know unless you fill out the application. You can drop over to my website, which is growfedbiz.com, and check it out because, your website matters. I know perfectly well that one of my favorite clients, and this was wonderful. We all want to have this experience and it's rare. He had booked a call through the automatic booking thing on my website. I showed up when I was supposed to show up. For a half an hour conversation, at the 20-minute mark, he said, "I'm ready, send me a contract." And going, really? In my dreams, this never happens. This was awesome. And they're just a marvelous, marvelous company. They're a group of the founders of former Marine. They're based in North Carolina. They've got a group of about 10 people, and they're working in the intelligence community. And we're just having a blast. It
Right.
was just the most, I'm working with exceptional companies this year. And
Yeah.
one of the things I've discovered is I no longer do my program. I love you, but for a solopreneur, I've got another partner who delivers a shorter version of this program for solo. The way that I teach is designed, it's great value. If you've got at least 3 people, between 3 and 10 people in a company, you're all involved in different facets of federal business development. Somebody might be the proposal writer, 2 or 3 people might be involved in making the sales calls. You've got this, so at least one person from the C-suite, often the CFO is right in there. And that whole group comes together, and whether somebody is new to federal sales or they've got lots and lots of experience, this brings together everybody on the same page. They're sharing stories, they're working together off the same plan. And one of the things that business owners tell me is they're concerned that, they're experienced people, they already know this stuff, and going, bring them. You would be surprised. At the end of it, the people who almost appreciate it most deeply are the ones who have been selling in the federal market for decades. They go, "Oh, I never realized that that's what I'm doing. This is why that never worked." Oh, yeah, you reminded me of the stuff that I really shouldn't have forgotten. And the people who are most grateful are the ones with the most experience. It's incredibly gratifying. It is magical.
Love
So
it.
whether you got a lot of experience, if you've got a team with a wide range of experience, bring them together for 8 weeks of an unforgettably powerful experience that puts you to work right away. You're earning while you're learning.
Love it. Love it. Judy, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure. You continue delivering greatness. Listen, if you I see a lot of smiley faces. Judy, looks like we did our job today.
Yeah.
All right,
Fantastic.
solopreneur, keep working at it. We've got, listen,
Keep
again, we
working.
have all kind of programs like Judy said, from free
Yeah.
resources up to some very minimal investment resources,
Yep.
and to
And
help
you
build your
support
capacity.
people all the way. You do not drop people off in the
Yeah,
database and abandon them. You get support, and you get to be with other peeps. You get to be with people who are where you are. And that makes such a big difference. You're with people who have been where you are and who have
right,
got your back, Eric.
right.
You've got a really powerful program.
Thank
And
you.
I encourage anyone who hasn't seen it, check out. If Eric gives you this much for free, imagine how he delivers for you when you say, I'm ready. I'm ready for more.
Right. No, that's a good point. Thank you. No, that's true. That's true. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Listen, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We went a little
Eric,
bit past
thank
our
you.
time, but again, I enjoy it. I really do. I really look forward to these conversations. Again, Judy's one of my heroes from many, many, many years ago before she ever knew I existed. So I really do have a great time. There's no other place I'd rather be. So I want to be here with you, with Judy, having these conversations. So I'm happy
Thank you,
that they
Eric.
did. I'm happy that they did the verses last night with Earth, Wind, and Fire and Isley Brothers, because otherwise I would have had to push this back. But that was last night. So tonight I'm here with you. Thank you, guys. Thanks,
All
Judy.
right.
We'll keep chatting. Actually, I think we have a few more.
One more left. We got one
No,
more to go.
and I'm gonna send you what you sent me. Yep, I'll send you what you sent me. We actually have a couple more. I thought we had one.
I thought we had one too. All right.
I'll send an
Well, we'll
email.
just we'll just work it out. It's
We'll
just
work it
such a
out. We'll
joy
get it
to do
worked out.
these. All right.
Hey,
Keep
thank you,
asking
guys.
questions. Let us know what else you want to know about. And so we'll be here for you. All right.
And if you're watching the replay, make sure you sign up for the webinar. Make sure you sign up for all the resources. We'll continue to drop that. It'll be in the show notes of this particular YouTube channel. So you have to open up the actual notes to follow the link. So I always put the links inside the show notes. All right. For
Okay.
those of you that asked. Thank you, Judy. I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Eric. See you next
Thanks.
time. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.